Theo Winters never thought he'd be the face of humanity. He was a mid-level diplomat, specializing in de-escalation and cultural sensitivity. His career had been a steady climb of modest achievements and competent report filing. Then the aliens showed up. "So these are the humans," said Council Representative Zulmat, a towering insectoid whose mandibles clicked with what Theo hoped was curiosity rather than hunger. "They're smaller than expected, but denser," added Representative Vreen, whose gelatinous form shimmered under the conference lights. "Scans show they're mostly water, yet somehow solid. Fascinating and disturbing." Theo cleared his throat. "On behalf of Earth, I thank the Galactic Council for this historic meeting. We are eager to join the interstellar community." The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of translated protests. Zulmat raised 4 of his 6 limbs. "Order. The question before us is classification, not admission. We must determine if these creatures qualify as sapient." "They use tools," offered a small, rodent-like delegate. "So do the rock-cracking mollusks of Ceti Alpha V," countered Vreen, "and we classified those as delicacies." Theo shifted uncomfortably. "We've developed spaceflight, complex social structures, art, literature." Yes, Zulmat interrupted. "That's on your application. But you also wage war against your own species, poison your atmosphere, and according to our scans, half your entertainment involves simulated violence." "That's not entirely." "You literally pay to watch actors pretend to murder each other," said a furry delegate Theo couldn't identify. "It's called cinema," Theo protested weakly. "It's an art form." The debate lasted 14 hours. Theo's water breaks were treated as evidence of human biological inefficiency. His request for a bathroom was met with fascinated disgust at human waste management. When he fell asleep standing up, 3 delegates suggested humans might be partially photosynthetic. Finally, Zulmat banged a ceremonial staff. "The Council recognizes humans as technically sapient, according to Section 47B of the Sentience Classification Protocol. However, they will be placed on probationary status with mandatory supervision." Theo punched the air victoriously, then immediately apologized when several delegates ducked for cover, assuming it was an attack gesture. Humanity had made first contact. It wasn't going terribly well, but at least they hadn't been classified as delicacies. 6 months later, Theo led a small delegation to the massive council station orbiting Proxima Centauri. The human team consisted of Dr. Eliza Quinn, xenobiologist Professor Marcus Reed, linguist, and Lieutenant Dana Ortiz, security advisor, which everyone knew meant she was there to assess potential threats. "Remember," Theo whispered as they approached the docking bay, "no sudden movements, no showing teeth, and for God's sake, no jokes about probing." Their welcome party consisted of precisely 1 alien. She stood exactly 5 feet tall, with iridescent blue scales, large amber eyes, and what appeared to be cranial fins that subtly changed color. "I am Commander Nix Zara, assigned to your orientation." Her translator produced flawless English with just a hint of disdain. "Please follow and attempt to maintain acceptable behavior parameters." "Charming," muttered Ortiz. "Your station is incredible," Dr. Quinn remarked, gazing at the massive structure. "The engineering required to." "Please refrain from analysis of council technology," Nix Zara cut in. "It's considered invasive." "Oh, sorry." "And do not expose your teeth when speaking. It's perceived as an aggression display." Theo sighed. This was going to be a long assignment. Their troubles multiplied exponentially during the station tour. Professor Reed accidentally insulted a diplomat by complimenting their translator. Dr. Quinn caused a panic by sneezing. Lieutenant Ortiz made the grave mistake of reflexively catching a falling object, revealing human reaction speeds that sent 3 security officers diving for their weapons. "Your reflexes are concerning," Nix Zara noted, fins turning a deep purple. "Most species require at least 0.8 seconds to process and react. You managed it in 0.3. "Is that good or bad?" asked Ortiz. "It's catalogued under predatory attributes," replied Nix Zara coolly. The dining hall proved especially problematic. The humans' omnivorous diet horrified several herbivore species. Their ability to consume compounds containing capsaicin led to accusations of poison immunity. When Reed absent-mindedly cracked his knuckles, an entire table of delegates fled the room. "I've been assigned as your handler because I specialize in dangerous species integration," Nick Zara explained later, her fins now a concerned orange. "We're not dangerous," Theo protested. As if on cue, Dr. Quinn dropped her sample case. Lieutenant Ortiz caught it with one hand while simultaneously steadying Quinn with the other, moving so quickly she appeared to blur. Nick Zara's fins flashed crimson. "Your file has been updated to note that humans can apparently move faster than our visual processing capabilities." "That's just good reflexes," Theo explained weakly. "So is a striking serpent's," Nick Zara replied. "The Council appreciates that humans are both intelligent and physically capable. It's precisely that combination which concerns us." The hearing room of the classification committee reminded Theo of a theater in the round, with him as the reluctant star. 7 different species sat in elevated positions, peering down with everything from eyes to sensory stalks to what appeared to be specialized paws. Species designation, human. Planet of origin, Earth. A classification petition. Full sapient recognition with unrestricted council access, announced the chairperson, a tall, willowy creature with bark-like skin. "I am Administrator Philo. We will now begin the evaluation." A gelatinous blob pulsed yellow. "The biological assessment is troubling. Humans possess endurance capabilities exceeding 94% of known species. We're persistence predators," Dr. Quinn explained helpfully. The entire committee flinched. "What my colleague means," Theo hurriedly added, "is that historically before technology humans used stamina to hunt prey until it collapsed from exhaustion," finished Quinn. "Fascinating evolutionary adaptation." Philo's branches quivered. "Moving on, human knowledge acquisition appears efficient, though chaotic. We call it curiosity," said Professor Reed proudly. "Yes, we have that marked as both an asset and a warning flag," responded a reptilian committee member. "Your species disassembles things simply to understand them, often without concern for consequences." "That's called science," Reed protested. "On Xandar VE it's called criminal vandalism," the reptilian countered. Theo intervened. "We understand that our methods may seem unorthodox, but humans have achieved remarkable technological progress in a relatively short evolutionary time frame." "Yes," Philo agreed. "Your technological development rate is unprecedented. From primitive combustion to basic spaceflight in less than 200 planetary cycles." "Is that good?" Theo asked hopefully. "It's terrifying," answered Philo. "Most species take millennia for such transitions, allowing for proper ethical frameworks to develop alongside technology." The final assessment came from a small furry creature with enormous eyes. "The psychological profile is what truly concerns us. Humans demonstrate cognitive dissonance, emotional instability, and an alarming tendency toward what they call humor during crisis situations." "That's a coping mechanism," Theo explained. "It's inappropriate," countered the creature. "You laugh in the face of danger." "Well, not directly in its face. That would be rude." Administrator Philo raised an appendage for silence. "Our final determination is as follows. Humans are classified as sapient per Council definition, Section 47B, paragraphs 3 through 12. The human delegation exchanged excited glances. "However," Philo continued, "you are simultaneously classified as apex threat in the biological database and will remain under provisional status." "Wait, what?" Theo exclaimed. "That's contradictory." "Not at all," Philo replied. "It simply means you're intelligent enough to understand rules but dangerous enough to require constant supervision." "This is an outrage," Lieutenant Ortiz fumed as they returned to their quarters. "We're not on trial here, we're being processed like exotic zoo animals." "Technically, we are exotic," Reed pointed out, "and potentially dangerous by their standards." A chime announced Nick Zara's arrival. "The Council has arranged a capability assessment. It's optional, but highly recommended for species seeking improved classification." What kind of assessment? Theo asked suspiciously. A practical demonstration of problem-solving and cooperation, she replied, fins shifting to a professional blue. Any new species participate. When they arrived at the assessment chamber, they found themselves facing another delegation, tall, graceful aliens with silvery skin and 4 arms each. Meet the Valorians. Zara introduced. Their species achieved council recognition 70 cycles ago. Consul Vrex leads their diplomatic team. Vrex inclined his head slightly. We've heard much about humans, such interesting creatures, so primitive yet resourceful. We prefer adaptable, Theo replied, forcing a smile without showing teeth. The assessment began with what appeared to be a simple puzzle. Reroute power through a complex grid to activate specific nodes. The catch: the grid constantly shifted configuration. The Valorians approached methodically, each taking one section, communicating in hushed tones. Their 4 arms moved with practiced precision. The humans, meanwhile, argued. We should map the pattern first, insisted Reed. No time. We need to react to each shift as it happens, countered Ortiz. Both approaches together, Theo decided. Quinn, track the pattern. Reed, predict the next shift. Ortiz and I will handle the physical adjustments. Their solution was messy, loud, and involved Ortiz at one point using her boot to hold down 3 switches simultaneously. But it worked. Interesting technique, Vrex observed, his silver skin flushing slightly purple. Unorthodox, but effective. The second challenge proved more difficult, a simulated environmental hazard requiring evacuation of robotic civilians from a collapsing structure. The Valorians constructed an elegant bridge using provided materials. The humans broke apart the provided materials to make multiple simple tools, created a pulley system from their own belts, and when that wasn't enough, Ortiz physically entered the hazardous zone despite warnings. Assessment terminated. Called a council observer. A human participant has violated safety protocols. But I got the last 3 civilians out, Ortiz protested, holding the small robots. By endangering yourself, Zara pointed out, fins flashing alarmed red. A calculated risk. Ortiz shrugged. The structure wasn't actually going to fall on me for another 30 seconds. Consul Vrex approached Theo afterward. Your methods are disturbing. You disregard established procedures, improvise wildly, and seem willing to sacrifice yourselves. We call it thinking outside the box, Theo replied. We call it probable cause for containment, Vrex retorted smoothly. The evacuation alarm blared 3 days later during a routine council session. Theo and his team were observing from the visitors' gallery when the station shuddered violently. Attention all personnel, the automated system announced. Critical failure in gravitational stabilizers. Emergency protocols activated. Chaos erupted as delegates rushed toward escape pods. Security barriers descended, trapping 30 delegates in the council chamber. What's happening? Theo asked Zara, who was furiously checking her communication device. The primary gravitational stabilizer has failed, she explained, fins pale with stress. The backup systems are engaged but overloading. This section will experience catastrophic gravitational fluctuations within 20 minutes. Can't you override the security barriers? They're safety measures to prevent station decompression. They can only be deactivated from the engineering hub, which is currently inaccessible due to gravity distortions in connecting corridors. Theo glanced at his team. We can get through. Impossible, Zara stated. The corridor is experiencing gravity shifts between 0 and 3 times standard. No species can navigate that safely. Lieutenant Ortiz stepped forward. Humans can. What followed was either the most impressive or most terrifying display of human capability the Council had ever witnessed. Ortiz led the way, timing their movements between gravity shifts. When gravity intensified, they crawled, muscles straining. When it disappeared, they used controlled pushes to propel themselves forward, catching handholds to prevent floating away. They reached the engineering hub sweaty, bruised but triumphant. Dr. Quinn immediately began analyzing the stabilizer controls. "The automated system is stuck in a feedback loop," she announced. "It keeps trying the same failed reset sequence." "Can you fix it?" Theo asked. "Not conventionally," Quinn admitted, "but I have an idea. It's a bit human." Her solution involved deliberately triggering a controlled power surge to force a complete system reset, essentially turning the station off and on again. Council protocols explicitly prohibited such measures. "This is against all safety regulations," Nick Zara protested, fins flashing warning colors. "Do you have a better idea?" Theo asked. She didn't. Quinn's reset worked. The barriers retracted, the delegates were saved, and the stabilizers returned to normal function. The humans were simultaneously hailed as heroes and cited for 17 protocol violations. "Your actions were reckless, dangerous, and completely unauthorized," Administrator Philo stated at the emergency review session. "You risked further damage to a multi-trillion credit installation." "We also saved 30 of your highest-ranking officials," Theo pointed out, "using methods that were explicitly prohibited," countered Consul Vrex. "This only confirms our concerns about human unpredictability." The debate continued for hours, with various council members arguing for everything from full honors to immediate quarantine of the entire human species. Eventually, a compromise was reached. "Humanity will be granted provisional council membership," announced Philo. "However, all human vessels must carry council observers, and Earth will host a permanent council embassy with direct communication to our defense networks." "You're watching us," Theo translated. "Prudent precaution," Philo replied unapologetically. As the delegation prepared to return to Earth with news of their conditional acceptance, Nick Zara approached Theo in the docking bay. "Your security officer asked me to give you this," she said, handing him a small device. "It's a personal communicator. Unauthorized, of course. You're not reporting it." Her fins shifted to an unusual violet hue. "I've been assigned as permanent liaison to Earth. We'll be seeing much of each other, Diplomat Winters." "You're our babysitter," Theo realized. "I prefer containment specialist," she replied, a hint of what might have been humor in her voice. "Though I'm beginning to think the Council underestimates what that entails." "We're not that bad," Theo protested. "Your Lieutenant Ortiz left detailed notes on 16 potential ways to disable station security using only items from your quarters," Nick Zara stated. "As a professional courtesy." Theo winced. "We're still working on appropriate diplomatic behavior." "Perhaps that's for the best," Nick Zara replied. "The Council classified you as sapient, but nature classified you as apex predators." "Both are correct. It makes you dangerous, yes, but also," her fins flushed a deep blue, "remarkable." As their ship departed, Theo gazed back at the massive station. Humans had a place in the galaxy now, not quite what they'd hoped for. But a start, they were respected, if somewhat feared. Given humanity's history, that seemed fitting. After all, the universe was vast and often hostile. Perhaps the galaxy needed a species that laughed in the face of danger and thought breaking things was a valid problem-solving technique. Perhaps it needed a species creative enough to try the obviously wrong solution when the right one wasn't working. Perhaps it needed humans. Nick Zara's communication device chimed with a message. "Does your species have alcohol?" "Ours does." "Cultural exchange?" "Definitely humans."